Thank you for giving the opportunity to present my planning. So this is a 60-minute digital technology lesson for a class within a unit. So the unit name is Digital Systems, and then which deals with data and responsible online designs. The lesson is titled Stop, Save, and Support, and it is designed for students, and it is designed with a flowchart algorithm as well that guides a young person through the safe response to a harmful group chat message. Just like with every other lesson, this addresses certain outcomes for technology years 7 to 8. Um, and by combining these safe participation in digital environments within the design and the evaluation of a digital solution. I will also explain how explicit instruction and support positive behavior for learning and restorative practices will enable all 26 students to participate safely and meaningfully, all while considering for the students that need more attention. Let's move ahead. So this context analysis, learners, policy, and foundation. So we have four students which are tiered in different levels. And my planning begins with the four named learners and the distinction between them, an MTSS tier and an NCCD level of adjustment. Amara is tier 3 because her access needs require individual planning, and based on the scenario, I would provisionally record supplementary NCCD adjustments. For example, accessible pathways, adapted materials, additional time, and so on. And these occur for particular activities rather than at all times. And I would also moderate the judgment with the learning support team and existing evidence if support occurs at most times on most days. Um, substantial may be more accurate. Zara is also tier 3 and supplementary under the NCCD, just because her anxiety and selective mutism require ongoing adjustments for communication, participation, and transitioning from activities. Uh, Her IEP must recognize written and one-to-one responses as valid evidence of engagement. Ethan is tier 2. Differentiation is mainly required in process and environment structured tasks. Private check-ins, of course, and neutral scenarios would be helpful. He also needs short task chunks, movement, role clarity, private redirection, and specific praise because public correction is an escalation trigger for him. The disability standards for education require reasonable adjustments and consultation, so Amara and Zala participate on the same basis as peers. So the New South Wales inclusive education policy requires personalized planning, collaboration, and review. The New South Wales student behavior policy requires prevention, focused, positive, and proportionate responses. Um, at Tier 1, which is the entire class, the class will experience an accessible room, visual agenda, explicitly taught routines, transition warnings, and multimodal response choices. Also, consistent language will be fostered as well. Have to be kind, be brave, and be your best. And I believe these foundations will reduce uncertainty and make learning much more better. Then comes the lesson design and the explicit instructions that will be given. So the learning intention that I would have is that we are learning to represent a safe online response and using a flow chart as well. And the success in this is defined by the correct flowchart conventions, at least four evidence-informed safety actions, and a brief justification of one design decision. Students enter to settle start, the visual agenda and learning intention are already displayed and they complete a silent notice and wonder response to an anonymous group chat. I then, me personally, will use I do, we do, you do sequence, which is another good strategy. First, I will explicitly model the start, process decision, and end symbols and think aloud while building one branch of the algorithm. Next, the class will construct a second branch responding on mini whiteboards or probably digitally. And then I go and check in every student's responses rather than relying on volunteers. And the students finish with an individual exit ticket, identify one safe action or one flowchart feature and one improvement that they can make. My evidence in is the observation checklist, the completed algorithm, and the ticket. If many students misuse decision branches, I will reteach with worked examples. And if the technical structure is secure but safety actions are weak, the next lesson will revisit e-safety reporting pathways. Now, the student adjustments that I would be taking into account. Um, Tier 1 supports, of course, the entire school will include, sorry, the entire class will include a clear visual model, accessible digital and printed templates, explicit partner roles, written instructions, and similar stuff. Now, for the individuals, for example, for Ethan, I will conduct a private pre-lesson check-in and explain that the scenario that we're going to have is fictional and no student must disclose personal experiences. He receives a structured logic tester role without becoming the class example. And so on for Ryan, the task will be chunked into three visible checkpoints. He would visit where he can use a discrete clue and has an agreed movement option and distributes scenario cards. For example, I will say, Ryan, you tested both branches and kept your partner on task. It's like a small compliment. For Amara, I would confirm wide pathways and adjustable workspace, um, and probably give additional time, equivalent project accessing the same outcomes, and also allot an LSO just in case. And for Zara, I would provide a visual schedule in advance, written directions. I'll partner up with a classmate and maybe point to a response card or speak one-on-one. And then I would monitor each support through accuracy and engagement. I record brief evidence as well, review it over time, and adjust accordingly. Positive behavior and relationships and communication that will be promoted in the class. For example, during peer testing, the communication norm would be critique the algorithm, not the person. For example, non-verbal strategies would include proximity, pointing to the visual step, a pause, and agreed private cue. Family communication is differentiated as well after the lesson. For example, I would email Amara's parents a strengths-based update describing her success and achievements, and invite feedback on adjustments. Similarly, for example, for Ryan's mother, I would use the homeschool communication book with one specific positive observation, and if a pattern needs discussion, arrange a call at an agreed time outside of shift. So keep in regular touch with the family because it is an important part of a student's journey. Proactive and inclusive approaches, another important aspect of the class. Um, my early intervention sequence is least intrusive first. Nonverbal cues, proximity, brief private redirection, um, and check the student's documentation, support the process if any escalation is required. Um, Another important thing that I might discuss, for example, is cyberbullying. Um, A safe algorithm would include preserving evidence, reporting harmful content to the platform, seeking support from a trusted adult. So these are the examples that they might put up, or I might help them put up. Um, for example, and then these like four steps that I've mentioned as well, like preserve, report, support, escalate. So kind of break down the task to them to make it more understandable. A contingency reflection. Um, just a way of giving feedback without making them feel bad. Like I would first protect the dignity by giving a private choice, move to a prepared offline debugging task in a quieter space, or brief regulated break with the agreed adult. I will replace this scenario for the class without explaining why and maintain the lesson's momentum. I would not demand an immediate discussion, apology, or disclosure while he's dysregulated. And later, when calm, I would check in using collaborative questions. what felt difficult, what support would help next time, and how can we preserve both safety and learning. This alternative is more proportionate, protects belonging, and still maintains the expectation that Ethan re-engages with the learning. Um, and that's about it. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, and see you soon.